how is it possible that at 33 years old, Cristiano Ronaldo moved to a brand new league, and despite being told he was too old, he still outscored everyone? And then, how is it possible that at 37 years old, Ronaldo returned to the hardest league in the world, and despite going through the worst trauma of his entire life, he was still one of the deadliest players in all of England? And now, how is it possible that at more than 40 years of age, Cristiano Ronaldo is still bagging goals for club and country at a rate that most football players can only dream of? This is the third part of the story of Cristiano Ronaldo, and arguably the most insane, as, despite his growing age, increasing doubters, and serious personal struggles, he has still outplayed everyone. And this all began on the 10th of July 2018 as a 33-year-old Cristiano Ronaldo made a €100 million move to Juventus in what they described as the deal of the century. But despite the optimism on paper, this was a massive risk. Yes, Ronaldo was off the back of a world-class Champions League winning season with Real Madrid, but how many players can really go on past 33 and still dominate football? At the time, he was the fourth most expensive signing in football history, as only Neymar, Kylian Mbappe, and Philippe Coutinho had moved for bigger fees. And, unsurprisingly, the footballing world was skeptical. Ronaldo might have scored 44 goals in his final season at Real Madrid, but people were already calling him washed up. But Juventus knew better. They had found out that Madrid would accept a bid of roughly $100 million for Ronaldo, so Juventus president Andrea Agnelli went all out to bring CR7 to Italy, even flying to Greece to meet Ronaldo on holiday. Ronaldo, on the other hand, was ready to leave Real Madrid, saying, "I was no longer considered in the same way as I was at the beginning, having felt a loss of love from the club, so it was a perfect move for all parties." Juventus had been dominating Italy for years, but their squad was aging, and they desperately wanted to get their hands on a Champions League trophy, and that's why they saw Ronaldo as the perfect fit. As soon as Ronaldo's signing was confirmed, Juve's stock price went through the roof, climbing 33%. The club gained 10 million followers on social media platforms, and it more than doubled its shirt sponsorship deal. But despite the obvious brand value he brought, football is judged by what happens on the pitch, and the question remained, could a 33-year-old striker really move to a new league and dominate in the same way he used to? And quickly, the doubters would be given a reason to doubt some more, because Ronaldo didn't get off to the best of starts. Because in his first 3 games, he didn't score a single goal, as Massimiliano Allegri kept switching Ronaldo's positions between a sole number 9 and a left winger, and even as part of a front 2, as he tried to incorporate both Ronaldo and Mario Mandzukic in his side. But finally, Ronaldo scored in his 4th game, tapping in a corner against Sassuolo in the 50th minute before grabbing a second goal on the 65th minute as Juventus won their opening 4 Serie A games. But those 2 goals would quickly be forgotten, as things got even worse for Cristiano as he kicked off his Champions League campaign with a straight red card after just 29 minutes against Valencia. Ronaldo left the pitch in tears as he insisted he had done nothing wrong. But now the pressure was really starting to build for CR7 as expectations placed on him were just so high. But despite Ronaldo's slow start, Juventus won their first 8 matches in Serie A, with Ronaldo scoring 4 and getting 3 assists. And in the Champions League, after serving a 1-match ban, Ronaldo faced back-to-back games against his former club Manchester United, and in the second of those games, he got his first Champions League goal for Juventus, which was an absolutely insane volley. And back in Serie A, Juventus and Ronaldo went on a spectacular run, winning 8 more games in a row, with CR7 bagging 6 goals before finishing 2018 with a draw against Atalanta and a win over Sampdoria, with Ronaldo scoring 14 and getting 5 assists in the first half of the campaign. And just a few days later, Cristiano Ronaldo would win his first trophy for Juventus as the club traveled to Saudi Arabia to play AC Milan in the Supercoppa Italiana, with Ronaldo scoring the only goal of the game in Jeddah as Juventus won 1-0. And back in the Serie A, Juventus continued their unbeaten run, winning 6 of the next 7 games, with Ronaldo scoring 5 goals in that time as the old lady just dominated the Serie A. But come February, all focus was on the Champions League, because the world was about to witness one of the most dramatic games in Champions League history. Juve faced Atletico Madrid in the last 16 and suffered a disastrous 2-0 defeat at the Metropolitano, all but ending their Champions League hopes. If this was any other team with any other player, Atleti were going through. But Diego Simeone made one fatal error by mocking Cristiano after the game, and come the return fixture, Cristiano was not messing around. His towering header pulled one goal back for Juve on 27 minutes, and then he scored another header to level the game just after halftime, and with extra time looming, Federico Bernardeschi was brought down in the penalty area, and Ronaldo completed his hat-trick from the penalty spot to give Juventus a 3-2 aggregate win with his first hat-trick for the Bianconeri, as, of course, Mr. Champions League himself showed up when it really mattered. But just as he was hitting unstoppable momentum, a hamstring injury took him out for 6 Serie A games, which saw Juventus lose their first 2 league matches of the season, and his first game back was a Champions League quarterfinal against Ajax. Ronaldo scored again as Juventus drew the first leg 1-1, and he gave Juventus the lead in the second leg with his 5th goal in the past 3 knockout games. But in a shock result, Ajax scored twice and Juventus were eliminated, and from then on, Juve would only win 1 more game all season. But due to their incredible form in the start of the season, Juventus won the league easily, finishing the season on 90 points, 11 points clear of second-place Napoli, to give Ronaldo his first Scudetto, making him a league champion in Spain, England, and Italy, and, of course, Cristiano Ronaldo was named the league MVP as the then 34-year-old had just conquered Italian football on his first attempt. But Ronaldo wasn't done for the summer, as Portugal had reached the finals of the first ever UEFA Nations League, and in the semi-final against Switzerland in Porto, Ronaldo opened the scoring, but Switzerland leveled through a penalty before Ronaldo scored 2 late goals to complete another international hat-trick and take Portugal to the final against the Netherlands, which, of course, they won 1-0 to give Ronaldo another international trophy. Not too bad for a 34-year-old, but as you know, he was only going to get even better in Italy. Because once again, heading into the 1920 season, Juventus started the league on fire, going unbeaten in their first 14 games, with Ronaldo scoring 6 in the 11 games that he played. And in the Champions League, the old lady cruised to the top of Group D, winning 5 and drawing 1 of their games. But after missing a game against Atalanta in November, Ronaldo burst into life, going on his best goal-scoring run in Serie A so far. In the 10 Serie A games from December to early February, Ronaldo scored 15 goals, including his first Serie A hat-trick against Cagliari, and this incredible header against Sampdoria when Ronaldo leapt higher than the crossbar, defying gravity to head the ball from a height of 2.56 meters, proving that even at the age of 34, he is still capable of superhuman feats. And after being absent for 1 game, Ronaldo would score against Spal to equal the Serie A record of scoring in 11 consecutive games. But just as it seemed nothing could stop Ronaldo, life was about to get very difficult for him. A virus in Wuhan brought the world to a standstill. Football stopped for 3 months, and Juventus was one of the first teams to impose self-isolation on its players. And to make matters a lot worse, Ronaldo's mother had a mild stroke, so he traveled to his home island of Madeira and quarantined there. Thankfully, she recovered and returned to health. As for Cristiano, the only thing that is more important than football is his family, and that's why what happened in a few years' time nearly broke him as a man. But for now, football restarted with the second leg of the Coppa Italia semi-final, which was a goalless draw in front of empty stands, with Ronaldo missing a penalty kick. But his goal in the first leg was enough for Juventus to go through to the final on the away goals rule, and that final against Napoli a few days later was another goalless draw in an empty stadium. But Napoli won the penalty shootout 4-2 before Ronaldo even had a chance to score from the spot, proving for heartbreak in Turin. The Serie A restarted the following week, and angrier than ever, Ronaldo continued where he left off with 7 goals in 6 games and became the highest-scoring Portuguese player in the history of Serie A. And then 2 games later, his brace against Lazio meant he had now scored 50 goals for Juventus, becoming only the second player to have scored 50-plus goals in 3 of Europe's top 5 leagues. But Juventus once again ended the season poorly, limping over the line with just 2 wins in their final 8 matches, and despite wrapping up the title with 2 games to go, the Bianconeri only finished the season with 83 points, just 1 ahead of Inter Milan, and that poor form had come at the worst time, as the Champions League resumed with the round of 16 immediately after the end of the season, with Juve chasing a 1-goal deficit from the first leg against Lyon. And even though Ronaldo scored twice, including this wonder strike, Memphis Depay also scored to put Lyon through on away goals, and yet again, Juve crashed out of the Champions League with no signs of getting close to lifting it. But those 2 goals from Ronaldo meant he broke Juventus' scoring record for a single season with 37 goals in all competitions. It was clear that, as much as he was performing, the team around him was declining, and this would only prove more true heading into his 3rd season in Italy. Maurizio Sarri was sacked over the summer, and Ronaldo would have his 3rd Juventus head coach in 3 seasons, Andrea Pirlo. And despite having no preseason, Pirlo got off to a perfect start, winning 3-0 at Sampdoria, with Ronaldo scoring the 3rd, and after that, he got both goals in a 2-2 draw against Roma. But then Cristiano Ronaldo was knocked off his feet as he caught COVID-19, testing positive while on international duty and missing 2 Serie A and 2 Champions League games, and by the time he returned, Juventus were only 5th in the league. But Cristiano was performing at a level never seen in Italy from him, with 8 goals in the 5 matches he played. But Juventus were just struggling to convert draws into wins, especially in the games that Ronaldo missed, and when they lost 3-0 to Fiorentina in December, Juventus fell to 6th in the Serie A at the end of the year, but in the Champions League group stage, the return of Ronaldo was key as he led Juventus to 4 victories, including a 3-0 win over Barcelona, with CR7 bagging 2 of the goals to help Juventus win their group. Meanwhile, in the Coppa Italia, Juventus blasted through the early rounds to set up a semi-final against Inter Milan in February, where Ronaldo grabbed Juventus' 2 goals in the first leg to see them win 2-1 on aggregate. But for once, Ronaldo's goals dried up a bit during the winter, and in an extremely tight Serie A table, Juventus lost games to rivals Inter Milan and Napoli, so were unable to break into the top 2 spots in the league. And in the Champions League, Juventus lost on away goals to Porto in the round of 16 and once again failed to progress far through the knockout stages of the competition, proving for the worst Champions League run CR7 has had in years. But back to the Serie A, Ronaldo had rediscovered his shooting boots, scoring 7 in 5 games in February and March, including a hat-trick against Cagliari, but Juventus as a whole continued to splutter, and in early May a 3-0 loss to AC Milan saw them drop back down to 5th with 3 games to go, but Ronaldo scored in the next game against Sassuolo to help Juve win 3-1, and that was his 100th goal for Juventus, making him the fastest Juventus player to reach a century of goals. He would score again in the next game against top-of-the-table Inter Milan to give the Bianconeri a vital win going into the final game of the season. But before that, Juventus had the Coppa Italia final against Atalanta, where Ronaldo gave everything to help Juve win 2-1 and lift the cup, meaning that Ronaldo had won every major trophy in Spain, England, and Italy. But Juventus were still in 5th place going into the final game of the season against Bologna, and in this must-win game, Ronaldo was left on the substitutes bench for what Pirlo claimed was a technical reason, saying that Ronaldo had sacrificed himself to win the cup, and without Ronaldo, Juve won comfortably against mid-table Bologna and finished 4th, just a point behind 2nd, but 13 points off the title. This season also proved record-breaking for Cristiano as he finally added the Italian Golden Boot to his trophy cabinet, finishing the Serie A season with 29 goals, 5 more than Inter's Romelu Lukaku, making him the first player to be top goal scorer in Italy, Spain, and England. And remember, he's 36 years old at this point. But now, speculation was starting to build that Ronaldo would leave Juventus before the start of the season, and this ran all through the summer, but the same summer saw Ronaldo head off to the Euros, where Portugal, unfortunately, couldn't retain their title with a first knockout round exit to Belgium. The rest of the summer was dominated by rumors that Pep Guardiola's Manchester City and Ronaldo reached a verbal agreement to join them, but in one of the most shocking transfer stories of all time, Cristiano Ronaldo received a call from Sir Alex Ferguson and within 48 hours had officially signed as a Manchester United player yet again. After 3 years in Juventus, where he scored more goals than any other player in that same time span, the stage was set for a return to the Premier League, the league known as the hardest in the world. And of course, the doubters were back in full force, saying he wouldn't be able to hold his own at such an old age. His arrival, signs of unrest could have been seen in the dressing room as Edinson Cavani gave up his number 7 shirt for Cristiano. This transfer was completed in August, which meant that Ronaldo had no preseason and had already missed the first 3 games of United's Premier League campaign. But Ronaldo made his debut in the 4th match of the season against Newcastle, where he got off to a dream start, scoring the opening goal of the game by tapping home a rebound, then later getting on the end of a Luke Shaw through ball to double his tally as United rocked to a 4-1 win. And Manchester United fans entered dreamland. A team of Pogba, Bruno, Sancho, Rashford, and now Ronaldo was sure to bring them back to the glory days, right? A few days later, Cristiano was back in Champions League action, scoring the opening goal against Young Boys, who shocked United by scoring a last-minute winner. But Ronaldo would keep his strong start to the season by scoring against West Ham the next weekend. Then, he finished the month with a last-minute winner of his own, playing against Villarreal in the Champions League. In the Champions League, Ronaldo kept doing his stuff, scoring 6 goals in 5 group stage games, including a double against Atalanta, to ensure Manchester United finished top of Group F. But the Premier League was a different matter, as key injuries against Aston Villa weakened the team's defense, and in that match, United would get a last-minute penalty. But instead of penalty king Ronaldo taking it, Bruno Fernandes took the spot kick instead, but Fernandes smashed the ball over the bar, meaning United lost, and then went on a run of 4 defeats in 5 games, the only win coming against Tottenham Hotspur, where Ronaldo got a goal and an assist in that game. The pressure was now mounting on Solskjaer, who was the Man United manager, until he eventually got the sack, with Michael Carrick coming in to replace him for 2 tough games against Chelsea and Arsenal, where Ronaldo scored twice, including the 800th goal of his career, to give United a 3-2 win. But then United brought in German manager Ralf Rangnick, and despite scoring against Norwich and Burnley, Ronaldo had a rare goalless spell, failing to score against Wolves, Brentford, West Ham, Burnley, and Southampton in his longest goal drought in more than a decade. Ronaldo even missed a penalty against Middlesbrough in the FA Cup and was dropped to the bench against Burnley. And by this stage, his critics were starting to write articles claiming he's too old and needs to hang up his boots. On February 15th against Brighton, he failed to score in the first 10 minutes, making the Baron run his worst goal drought since his move to Real Madrid, going 546 minutes without scoring. But finally, in the 51st minute of that game, Ronaldo's strike from the edge of the box hit the back of the net to register his first goal of 2022. And a month later, Ronaldo was right back on form as he bagged a hat-trick against Tottenham, including this phenomenal strike, before scoring another hat-trick in April against Norwich as he was firing on all fronts for United. But this is when tragedy struck for Cristiano. You see, Ronaldo and his partner Georgina Rodriguez had been expecting twins, but when it came to the birth, only one twin survived, with the other, sadly, not making it out alive. This was without a doubt the toughest moment in Ronaldo's life, as no parent should ever suffer the loss of a child. Ronaldo said only the birth of his twin sister gave him the strength to live after the death of his baby boy. Obviously, this affected him a lot mentally, and as he returned to football, it was clear he was suffering. Tributes from the world poured in, like rival Liverpool fans offering a standing ovation in the 7th minute of their next match, showing in times like this, rivalry doesn't exist. Back in the Premier League, Ronaldo scored 3 goals in the final few games of the season to finish the season on 24 goals in total, with 18 in the league, making him the 3rd highest scorer that season after Mo Salah and Son Heung-min. He was also named in the PFA Premier League Team of the Season at 37 years old, while suffering one of the worst heartbreaks of his career, meaning, yet again, Cristiano Ronaldo proved everyone wrong. But as despite the individual performances, Manchester United only managed to finish 6th in what was the club's worst season since 1990, and they didn't win a trophy, making it the first season Cristiano Ronaldo has gone trophyless since 2010. And this is when Manchester United appointed Erik ten Hag as head coach, who, let's just say, was going to have a few problems with Cristiano. It started in preseason, as Ronaldo did not turn up for the preseason tour, as reports were coming out that he'd pushed for a transfer to leave the club that summer, saying the club lacked ambition. But nevertheless, he remained at Red for the next season, where Ten Hag became the first Manchester United manager in 100 years to lose both of his first 2 league games, including a 4-0 loss to Brentford, which was the only game that Cristiano Ronaldo started in the league until November, as Ten Hag relegated the team's top scorer from the year before to the substitutes bench. Ronaldo could only get a chance to start in the Europa League games, where he scored twice and got 2 assists as United cruised through Group E. But in the league, Ronaldo didn't get to play a single minute of the Manchester Derby, where Ten Hag's side were humiliated 6-3 by Manchester City. When Anthony Martial got injured against Everton, the Dutch head coach was forced to play Ronaldo, who, of course, scored the winning goal, just to find himself on the bench again for the game against Spurs. And when he refused to come on as a late substitute, Ten Hag suspended him for one match, and he only got to play in 2 more games after that, before the Premier League took an extended break for the Qatar World Cup. But by this point, Ronaldo had had enough, and before heading to Qatar, he did an interview with Piers Morgan where he said Manchester United hadn't evolved at all since Ferguson left, and that the club couldn't be compared to Real Madrid or Juventus. And he also said Ten Hag had shown him no respect, calling out the manager and basically killing any future he had at Old Trafford. United were fuming after this interview and terminated his contract, ending his long association with the club. In hindsight, Cristiano Ronaldo appears to have been proven right about his comments about Manchester United, as Erik ten Hag eventually got the sack, and United sit in their worst position they have been in decades. But still, it was clear Ronaldo had to go. But that winter of 2022 was about to get worse for Ronaldo, as he captained Portugal at the Qatar World Cup, which could have been his last ever chance at World Cup glory. It started well enough, with Ronaldo becoming the first player to score at 5 different World Cups when he scored a penalty in Portugal's opening match win against Ghana. But when he appeared to sulk over his substitution against South Korea, and head coach Fernando Santos dropped Ronaldo for the round of 16 game against Switzerland, and as Portugal cruised to a 6-1 victory, Ronaldo was kept on the bench for the quarterfinal against Morocco, only coming on when Portugal were already losing 1-0. But he just did not have enough time to make an impact, so Portugal were eliminated from the World Cup, and Ronaldo's club and international future looked uncertain in what was easily the toughest point in his entire career. Cristiano returned from the World Cup clubless, and this is when he was handed an offer that he simply could not refuse, as Saudi side Al Nassr offered to make the 37-year-old the best-paid footballer in the world and start a footballing revolution in the Middle East. Just the annual salary at Al Nassr was 200 million euros a year, not to mention the commercial packages layered on top. At the time, Saudi Arabia was not known as one of the top football destinations, and the country's strategy was that other big-name players would come there because they wanted to play in the same league as Ronaldo. Once Cristiano put pen to paper, the footballing world thought this was just a retirement contract. He was going to fade out of scoring goals and fade out of the national team. But the opposite was going to happen, as it wouldn't be long before Cristiano Ronaldo was yet again the top scorer in the entire world. He made his as Saudi Arabia's Ronaldo gamble paid off, and big names followed him to the Middle East. But none of those superstars could keep up with Ronaldo, who early in the season went on a run of 10 goals and 5 assists in just 6 games. Between the start of the season and the end of December, Ronaldo scored 20 league goals for Al Nassr, and when goals for club and country are combined, he had 54 goals for the calendar year, making him the top scorer in world football in 2023, outscoring Kylian Mbappe, Harry Kane, and Erling Haaland, meaning that at 38 years old, Ronaldo had become the world's top scorer for the 5th time in his career. But while he kept scoring in 2024, including hat-tricks against Al-Tai, Abha, and Al-Wehda, it wasn't enough for Al Nassr to keep up with superstars of Al-Hilal, so Ronaldo missed out on the Saudi Pro League title and also lost out to Al-Hilal in the Kings Cup, losing on penalties in the final. But Ronaldo did win the Golden Boot, and not just win it, he won it by a mile, with 35 goals, 7 more than closest rival Alexander Mitrovic, showing that even though the other superstars who came to Saudi Arabia thought it would be easy, none of them could get close to Ronaldo. But with Saudi Arabia attracting more and more top players, repeating that feat would be hard, especially as Al Nassr were struggling to compete with Al Hilal and Al Ittihad. But Ronaldo started the season strongly with 6 goals in his first 7 games, as Al Nassr went 10 games unbeaten. And at this time, he scored his 441st goal of his 30s, meaning Ronaldo had actually scored more goals in his 30s than in his 20s. In fact, he scored more in his 30s than Wayne Rooney, the second highest Premier League goal scorer of all time, had scored in his entire career. And after this, Ronaldo just kept scoring. In one spell midway through the season, he hit 10 goals in 9 games, but Al Nassr ended the season poorly with 3 wins in their final 7 games and finished 13 points behind champions Al Ittihad. But yet again, Ronaldo was the league's top scorer with 25 goals, 2 ahead of England international Ivan Toney. Looking back to the Portugal national team, many thought that moving to the Saudi League would put an end to his top-level performances, but that couldn't have been further from the truth, as Ronaldo was still going strong for Portugal, who would reach the Nations League finals, where Ronaldo scored in the quarterfinal against Denmark and the winning goal in the semifinal against Germany to set up a final against Spain. And while Ronaldo scored in the final too, he picked up an injury, so he couldn't take part in the penalty shootout. But Portugal eventually overcame Spain on penalties to win the Nations League for a second time, as this proved a significant victory of Yamal's Spain, proving the future of football has not quite taken over from the king. Now at 40 years old, Ronaldo has signed a new 2-year contract with Al Nassr, somehow making him even more money than the last one, with an even percent ownership in the club itself. And now the only thing in Cristiano's mind is the summer of 2026, as he looks to play what is definitely going to be the last World Cup of his entire career. One last shot to make his dream come true. Cristiano Ronaldo, good luck.